Hi everyone, Anthony Cummins here from Natori. Now recently I did a video called Shinobi Mission 1, Infiltrating the Village. And it was just a video, it's a couple of videos further down in the list. And I asked any students or anybody out there if you wanted to have a go at gaining information on a village using actual Shinobi techniques from our manuals. Now you can use the Book of Samurai 1, the Book of Samurai 2 or the Shoninki to get this information. Now, the basic premise is you have to go in to the village and find out how many soldiers, samurai they could field in a battle, their income. You know, basically, when a shinobi wants to know income, they want to know about how many soldiers a certain area can put on the field of battle. That's one of the main reasons. So what happens is many shinobi go out and find out how many soldiers a province has and how many people they can, you know, support on the battlefield, which tells you how big an army they've got. So this is one of the fundamental factors, but I'll go through it now. So just to let you know, Jeff Ingram and Toby Roberts have really helped me compile this back together because, of course, in the background I have my lads working and they put things together and then I can quickly access it. So the people who've done it, now unfortunately only 4 people did it, guys. I'm a bit annoyed at that, but the 4 people that did it were Jeff Ingram, number 6, Toby Roberts, number 213, Chris Raspberry, 241, and Dinnin Freeman, 204. They're the people who put it together and submitted something to Jeff or Toby so that they could compile it and bring it back to me. Now, what I'm not going to do is go through each of their stuff because all 4 of them put good stuff in and stuff that I wouldn't really use. But each one was actually really quite good. But there was elements in that are right or wrong. Now, I've got to be careful here. There are definitely wrong ways to do this. There are absolutely wrong ways to do it. But there are also many, many right ways to do it. So there are definitely things. So, for example, if you wanted to find out how many samurai were in the town, so you could analyse how big the scope of their how big a scope of their forces they could field. You wouldn't want to send forces in and kill everyone in the town and count the dead and say, oh, they could field this many. Because you were like, well, that's a bit redundant, really, isn't it? Because then it would cause chaos within. So what I'm going to do is just go through all the sections here and look at whether I think they're right or wrong or good or bad, but these are mixed in from all 4 of those people. So let's go through. Okay, 3-man shinobi teams. So most of them said they would go in a team, not as an individual, they would go as a team. That was pretty much said. One even said they would use females, which is absolutely fine, it's in there. So 3-man teams, yes, you would go in 3-man teams, no problem. A lot of them went to, they would be dancers or entertainers. The idea that they would go in disguise as people who put on shows for villages, and that's why they're traveling. Absolutely great. Or as merchants and yamabushi. Again, so this brings the idea of coming in from different directions. One is a yamabushi, one is a merchant, one is a dancer, or all 3 are dancers. And remember, in Natori, 3-man teams is not always just 3. It means a group of people. It even says that in the Shoninki. It basically says 3-man teams are 3 or more, basically. All of them said, or some of them said, they would do maps, so you need a map of the village. Now, the map of the village doesn't really give you exactly how many soldiers they are going to field because you're not actually going to invade this village. You're just getting information for the wider scope. So making a map of the village might be useful. In fact, you would do this as a shinobi in case for future, while you're there, make a map and then you go back home, you say, I've got a map of the village, and you keep your folders up to date if you like. That's genuinely what they would have done. They map out other things, but it wouldn't really give you much of an answer as to how many samurai they could field. And then there is reasons for that. Now, they've said they would use local guides. Now, this is Kyodo in Natoryu, local guides. Now, the problem here would be with the local guides. It sounds good, but what would you do with a local guide? So you'd go and say, I need to hire someone to guide me around the area. And you're like, well, you're in the village and there's a mountain up there. There's a mountain up. What do you want? Do you know what I mean? So guides are normally when an army are going through. So you're not, the idea wasn't to get through the village or find out the local area if you've got to pass through. The idea was to find out how much money they've got, soldiers they do. The only reason I would say use locals is if the village is a collection of hamlets stretched about. So you wouldn't really need to use local guides unless you had a reason to find out what was in the local area, you know. Dialects. Now, this is the one that a lot of people jump to, is dialects. Now, I would say this is the wrong one. There's no reason for you to use a dialect, usually Dako. Now, it depends here, because some of them said Dako. Now, Dako comes into 3 different teachings, and it's about listening to people and gaining information, which is correct. But if it's Dako meaning dialects, the way to speak to people, and you change your speech, then no, you don't need to change your speech because you're not from the area. If you're trying to be from the area or the local area, you need to change your speech. But if you're not, we're entertainers and we travel all over, your accent is fine. It's a foreign accent to them. It's not a problem. So when we use the word Dako, we have to be careful. It has 3 meanings. So dialects would be useless there, unless you wanted to be from a different province. You're trying to impersonate a province from somewhere else, which you wouldn't really need to do. Now, Ninso and Shinso. Now, these I would say are no as well. So Ninso is face reading, and Shinso is knowing the mind of a person. You don't have they are great teachings, but you don't have a specific target here. There's no specific person you're looking at. You're looking for a broad understanding of how many people are in that village. So you wouldn't really need Ninso and Shinso there. Same again with Kyojitsu. Now, Kyojitsu is substantial and insubstantial. The only reason you would need Kyojitsu here is to know if the enemy are hiding troops, but then they're openly putting. So say there's like 5 houses in the village, and each one's packed inside with samurai, and there's 200 samurai packed into 5 houses. But on the outside, there's just an old man whittling. So any travellers going through are saying, "Oh, it's quite a deserted town." That's Kyojitsu. Now, we're assuming the village is not doing that. Do you know what I mean? That they couldn't maintain that for very long. So you would need a real reason to find out why they were hiding people in the village. So that's not within, if you like, the intelligence report didn't show that. So, there's not a real reason for that. Togiki is outside listening. This is listening to other provinces. This would come in quite well if, again, the village was spread out. We have to be careful here with Japanese village because everybody gets the idea it's like a little town. Sometimes villages are actually just spread out hamlets. So you have to be careful there. Uragaki is listening behind to things. That, I would say no. Uragaki, so Togiki is listening on the outside, which means knowing things that are further out, yeah? Uragaki is actually listening behind things, behind, and listening to people. All you're going to hear is like local conversation. What about, you don't need, in this instance, so much of their information beyond counting how many people there are. But it would work. I get why they've gone for this, because it would give you what's going on in there. So yes, it would be work. Wouldn't be high on my list. Counting with beans. Now, there are 2 ways to count with pebbles or beans in Natoryu. One is to watch an army go past and count out how many people are there. The other one is to count out the different types of houses. Here would be using the different types of houses, because then you can count how many people are in the average house, how many types of houses there are, what type of people they are. This would give you an idea of the people in the village. So yes, that would work. So also local spies. Now, this is different to local guides. Local guides are Kyodo, and they are people that take you around and take you all over. Local spies are like the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. They're the people that you employ to give you information. Yes, local spies would work. So Kyodo here, excuse me, I'm still a bit ill. Kyodo here would probably not work so well, because you don't really need to go around the local area so much. Find out where the paths are and where the waterfalls are and where is it safe to cross the river. You don't really need that. But local spies, you do need, in the idea that if you can get one, it's a little bit risky though. Trying to get a local spy is risky because it gives away what you're doing. And if that local spy is just playing you, then they will lie to you. So you have to be careful there. The other one is arson. You don't really want to cause attention to people here. You don't really want to get everybody's attention. So you have to be careful there with doing anything military in that sense. Also, there's 2 things that stand out as not really correct here. And that is, A, the size of military camps. So the idea of the size of military camps. There are no military camps in a village. It's a village. The military camps are not there. You're off to, it's not war. There are no military camps. So this idea is Shinobi sent before war. And when you go before the war, you then learn how many people are in the villages and whatever. And then you know how many people they're going to pull together. So you say they've got 40 villages under their command, and each village has an average of between, say, 10 and 20 samurai or whatever. And each samurai has 5 assistants. So that's 25 people. Hold on, no. So, sorry. Say they have 10 samurai, yeah? Each person is 6 people. So as the samurai plus 5 attendants is the normal one. So you get samurai plus attendants who are all fighting men. They'll all fight. And say there's 10 of them, that's 60 men, 20, that's 120 men from that village. So if you've got 40 villages with 120 men in, you're like, that's, I'm doing the maths in my head, 1,200, 4,000 maybe, I don't know. If somebody do the maths for me underneath, put it in the link before. Basically, each samurai has 5 people with him, times 10 it's 60, you know, times 20 it's 120, you keep going up times the amount of villages and all that. So you can, that's why you're like, how many people do we need? So just seeing one samurai is not one fighter. They have a groom, an assistant, a side assistant, and all these people have got swords on them and are ready to fight. So there's no military camps there. You are looking at houses, and around that house is a little guy chopping wood. But when they go to war, he puts his swords on and off he goes with the samurai. Remember that. And the other one is the selling cups thing. Now this is, I think a few people get this wrong. There is a story in the Shoninki about selling cups. And in the same place or around the same place, it talks about getting the value of what people can afford there. Now, this is a little bit slightly, there are 2 teachings that are slightly different but resemble each other. First of all, you're looking to sell items to find out how much people can afford there. So if you go to the local, like imagine a really poor area and you're trying to sell Gucci shoes at £4,000 and people are like, no. But you can sell a pair of trainers for 10 quid or $10. They're like, yeah. But they can't pay $50. You suddenly like, and if that happens all day and you've got your cart of trainers and everybody is like, can pay about $20, $15 in there, you know it's a poor area. So you're like, okay, these are poor, which means they can't fund that. You know that you need so much money to fund a single samurai. So that's why. Whereas the cups thing is a story about how to approach ninjutsu. It's not about, even though it's on the same lines, the point the master is saying here is that if you try to directly do something, like buy something big, sorry, let me tell you the story. So the story is, Shinobi Master says to the lower Shinobi, how would you get this big vessel, this vase? It's $400. So they try and steal it. It's massive and they're trying to get it and they can't do it. So the master goes around and steals $400 worth of different things from different items and shops. And he'd steal $800, sells them at half price and gets $400 in cash, and then goes and buys the vase legitimately and takes it. And the students laugh and say, okay, the point of the story is indirect actions will get you there. Don't directly do everything. So yes, it's about money, but actually it's about being direct or indirect in what you do in Shinobi no Jutsu, okay, or in military teachings overall. So they're the 2 that stood out at the end as no. But on the whole, everybody put in a good account. It's a shame we didn't have more people doing it, but well done to Jeff Ingram, Toby Roberts, Chris Raspberry and Dylan Freeman for putting those in. And all of them literally show to me that they're really reading the stuff and getting the stuff done. And considering Dylan didn't even have the Shoninki at the time, I think he's bought it now. So that's quite good. So, right guys, looking forward to the next mission. I'll give you another mission when I can, and we'll look at what we get. I can't go and look through everybody's stuff. What I'm asking is Toby and Jeff to come together and pull the main points together. So hopefully we'll have some more people giving it a go next time. I know Stephen Najiri tried this course, or tried an extended course years ago, and if people didn't really like it. So you got to decide that people really like Shinobi no Jutsu or not. It's an amazing thing, but it isn't jumping over fires and throwing spears. It is thinking properly, and it does involve dangerous things, but it also involves a lot of mundane espionage. So there you go, guys. Let me know what you think.